Hi, we're back again. And we're still here with Thom Bierdz, better known to all the soap fans as Phillip, Chancellor III from The Young and the Restless. First, I want to say, Thom, it's been such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Now, Thom, we want to get into the book, Forgiving Troy. Tell us about that.
Okay. I went through some pretty amazing stuff years ago, and halfway through it, I was like, this is just so unbelievable that I feel an obligation to share it. And I really put everything into the book, and I had to be totally honest when I did that. The book is about my paranoid schizophrenic brother, Troy, who killed our mom, and Mom was great. Mom was so sweet and so loving, but he, like a lot of paranoid schizophrenics, well, not all of them though. I mean, no, that's not true. I mean, most paranoid schizophrenics are not at all dangerous. They're just not. And I've worked with many charities, and they want you to know that. That, you know, they're less dangerous than normal people. But my brother, he killed Mom, and I didn't want to have anything to do with him afterwards. None of us did. But I was led back to him. So like 5 years after he killed her, I did go back to prison to see him, and what I discovered was not this mean wolf. I discovered this pathetic, babbling, incoherent, Charlie Manson type schizo who was just totally paranoid. And I realized that he really needs me. And as it turned out, I needed him as well. And so we've been able to build our relationship. And it's been a long journey. But some of the stuff that we went through was just so unbelievable that I had to write a book about it.
Wow. Wow.
Did anybody have time to finish the book?
Well, I've read through most of it.
There's some bizarre stuff.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Can you talk about the what finally drove you to actually visit? Because in the book you mentioned that it was sort of an emotional, like, tug of war, and actually making yourself go to see him. Can you talk more about that?
It's kind of out of context to tell you exactly my impetus. You know, it really takes several hundred pages for you to get that, because I'll just sound crazy if I tell you the reason I went, you know, and you need to read some of that. But anyway, something made me go, and it was good. It turned out to be good instead of what I thought would be horrible.
Wow.
From what I did read from the book, you dealt with your brother's mental illness from childhood.
We didn't know.
No,
he wasn't strange. We didn't think he was mentally
You didn't
ill.
think he was strange.
No.
But there's a part in the book where you actually research mental illness in your family. How does that play into how you think about yourself and any possible future generations of Bierdz? Even though you said earlier that you didn't really want any children, how does that affect the thought of having children with that possibility that they could experience mental?
No way. No, I just don't want kids that eat food or that make noise. You know, those are the kind of kids I don't want. No. Here's the thing. I differ from most people in my belief system. I do not believe in genetics. I really don't. I believe, like the Course of Miracles talks about, or Seth Speaks, sometimes the Science of Mind, Abraham Hicks. I believe that we create our life from our thought patterns. And so, yes, my mother took my brother to 40 therapists when he was being abusive to her. 2 said he was schizophrenic. The other 38 said, no, there's nothing wrong with him. And now he's been diagnosed as schizophrenic. And I do have schizophrenia cousins, schizophrenic third cousins, and there's some bipolar people, but I still refuse to believe that we are a victim of anything, including genetics.
So how did you come to that belief? No, genetics plays no role physically, mentally, at all?
Right. I'm just saying that I believe differently than most people. And yes, most people would say we're victims of genetics, of environment, of everything. Right. And I just don't choose to believe that. I believe that God didn't sentence any of us to anything horrible at all. I think that, we attract that, we create that. So, but anyway, I really don't go into that spiritual mindset in my book because it really doesn't serve anybody, and it's not what the book is about.
Right.
People, there is mental illness in my family.
Right. Okay, now the name of the book is called Forgiving Troy. Have you forgiven your brother?
Yes, absolutely. I've forgiven him. You can't get mom back.
Right.
What can you do?
Right.
What can you do?
Okay.
And when she was alive, she said, promise me if anything ever happens to me that you 4 kids will always be there for each other. And I did promise her that. And of course, I knew that she wanted me to be there for him when I saw how absolutely, crazy he was. But because of my visits to him, I was able to get him on medication, and he's doing really, really well.
Good.
He's not. You wouldn't know that he's a paranoid schizophrenic.
Wow.
He seems like a real nice, normal guy.
That's good. Wow. So how long it took you to come to that point to forgive him? How long did it take you?
I think as soon as I saw him.
Okay.
Well, no, it took a little. I just don't understand. I didn't understand why he did that. But
right.
What can you do about it? He needed his big brother, so I was able to be there for him.
Okay. Wow.
Thom, I personally, myself, I also deal with various different mental illnesses in my family, particularly bipolar or manic depression, I should say. And sometimes, I know for me personally, when these family members do certain things that maybe other people would consider out of the ordinary, and they would get upset or angry with this family member about, I myself kind of in my head have to understand that that is not the person that I love. That is just this mental illness that is taking over them. Do you ever do that also?
No, because no. When I say that there's mental illness in my family, I mean that in my huge family, there's a couple instances of people pretty removed from me. So no, I don't really deal with that in my day-to-day interactions. It's not in my immediate family, and even my brother who's in prison, he's, absolutely cogent.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to talk about the mix of feelings that you had right after you found out about the tragedy, because from what I read, you were pretty up and down yourself. So we're talking about you thinking he was coming to come kill you, and then you going outside and you had this angel that you were trying to prepare to protect the house, and it not being finished, and you like losing it. Talk about the emotional roller coaster you went through right after this happened.
Well, I think that, I've had emotional issues, and most of those, I think, are really resultive of my early childhood that really didn't have anything to do with that. as a gay man in a straight world and growing up in a Catholic church where you're under the assumption that everybody thinks you're going to hell, you distance yourself for survival's sake. You build elsewhere and you grow elsewhere. And so I think a lot of my issues had to do with that kind of anger. So yes, even though after Troy killed Mom and I lost my temper, I don't think that it was necessarily because of my brother killing Mom. But yes, that was the helplessness, the powerlessness. That's what I feel, and that's what most people feel who ever do anything violent. It's a powerlessness that they're trying to get out, that they're trying to get over.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. It seems like it's just it was an amalgamation of things, not just that sort of pushed you off the edge. But there's another part where you talk about, I might be paraphrasing, but the audacity of your brother, sort of putting your name in the midst of it, saying that it was you that actually committed a crime, or you sexually abused him. Like that particular part to me was like, I don't know, like to have a sibling go to the lengths of calling the police on you, and I mean, you said that, you know, the cops and everyone else knew it would be a lie, but how did you feel when you heard that's what he did?
Yeah, I mean, after Troy killed her, he stopped and he called 911 and said that I killed her and that I raped him. Wow. And you know, that wasn't true at all, and I never touched him sexually. Right. Even though I'm gay and he's not, there was never anything there. I'm 8 years older than him, and well, whatever. I mean, I just it was based on absolutely nothing, and I don't think anybody believed it. You know, so it didn't bother me that much. You know, it just went to the police, and they didn't even believe it. So I wasn't too upset about that. But yeah, I mean, right? I mean, the audacity of that, and how lost and mean-spirited to try to do that.
Wow.
What can you say?
Yeah. Also, in your book, with the part, there was one part I read about the struggle of the family, particularly your mother, to get him institutionalized and to get help. And there were places that didn't want to take him because he would harass the staff. Can you talk about the struggle that your mother had to get him any kind of help for his mental condition?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was like a catch-22, you know. He was underage when he was abusing her, so there were a few places that would take him, but he did go to juvenile delinquency places, and he was problematic there when he would act out and like steal her car or tie her up. Sometimes he was too young to go in the prison system. So if he was in a holding cell, he would try to kill himself. And then if he went to a psychiatric hospital, he would try to strangle a nurse.
Wow.
So nobody wanted to deal with him. There wasn't a place for him.
Wow.
He really hadn't done any crime where he was going to be sentenced. And unfortunately, my mother knew that he was going to kill her. And there was nothing that she could do. We didn't believe him. Yeah, he said it, but we didn't believe him, you know.
Wow.
But she knew it, and he did. And, you know, I don't know. There are plenty of people in this situation today. There are plenty of people that can't get help. And that's just so sad. I don't have the answers to that.
Yeah, true.
No, that's definitely true. Like, as I was saying, bipolar runs in my family, and to get help is like trying to, pull your own teeth out. It's so hard to get help for the person. And she has gone to these places herself and asked them for help, and they don't want to help her.
Wow.
And one thing that I think would be very helpful to people in this situation would be to read your book and to hear this story, because it's a wonderful story. You start reading the book, you don't want to put it down. Like, I mean, you just sent the book to me, and I just got it today, and from the second I got it and picked it up, I started reading and could not put it down because it is a page turner. Have you ever thought of making it into a movie?
Yeah, when I was living through it, I thought this is so cinematic. I mean, it really is. These, with the things that are going on with Troy and me, him saying that it's him believing he still has a paper route, he's in prison, and he's telling me that he still has a paper route, and he's asking me to go cancel the paper route and to get a letter, and, for me to try to sneak into the Kenosha News and to ask for that, and then ask them, please don't do a story on this. Here I am, a soap opera star, trying to kill my mother, but my sister doesn't want any fuss about it. So I'm trying to get a letter that says, Troy, you're excused from the paper route, and not try to make a story into it. It was very, very bizarre, these circumstances,
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I can totally see this as a movie.
You and me both. You and me both.
Now, Thom, I know you named it Forgiving Troy. You've named it Forgiving Troy, but as I was going through the book, and also because I'm a mother, I couldn't help but focus on the painting that you have called Cornered Mother. It's her story and what she went through in her head interests me. Like, she knew that he was going to kill her. How does she live day to day knowing that this person that she issued for, that she loved, would be her killer? And how did she...
That she called her miracle baby.
Yeah, she called him her miracle baby. So I'm very curious about how she dealt with it.
Yeah, I think mothers would understand more than anybody. I think if you're not a mother, we have a hard time understanding why you would keep that person so close that was so dangerous. I think only mothers can see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the art piece that you have, Cornered Mother, does that reflect?
What about it?
Does that reflect that viewpoint, or what I'm seeing your mother as cornered, where she can't get out?
Yeah, she was stuck, and she knew that he was going to kill somebody, and she wanted it to be her as opposed to anybody else.
Wow.
She knew stuff we didn't know. She didn't tell me what he was doing. I was in Hollywood and I was on a soap opera, and she was just telling me, well, Troy's in Wales, which is a detention home, or Troy's this, but she didn't tell me the details.
Right.
So I didn't know. I wouldn't have believed him anyway. I didn't believe him.
Wow.
Now, your father went to college to become a psychotherapist.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Right.
Does that have anything to do with your brother's condition and his decision to do that?
Well, my dad was a psychotherapist before Troy was even born.
Okay. All right. I have to go back to where you say you don't believe in genetics. Okay, your brother's mentally ill. There are many mentally ill people. There's something going on in the brain, a misfirings. It's a chemical misfunction out of their control. what is your assessment of mental illness and how we deal with mental illness in this country? And what can you offer others when it comes to dealing with people with mental illness?
Let me go off on a tangent a little bit. One thing that I wanted people to get from this book is that, well, or maybe it's not in the book, but if you are being threatened by somebody, if you are afraid of somebody, whether they're mentally ill or not, it's really important to empower that person. You don't want to piss them off, you know, and you know, that's what I tell people when they Facebook me and say, hey, look, you know, my mom is in a similar situation, or my sister is living with somebody that threatens her. You know, my advice is just try to slowly get away from that, but don't be defensive. Don't make them more frustrated. Don't make them more frustrated, you know? So now your question about mental illness. Well, shoot, you know, I don't know. You know, I'm certainly not studied enough to really deliver on that, but I've worked with some wonderful charities like the National Alliance of Research on Schizophrenia and Depression, and they've got a great deal of information. I think mental illness is so vague, and you know, there's such a stigma to it, but and you know, in my belief system, I believe anything is changeable. Anything is malleable. That's just what I believe. And yes, you know, and I do believe that, you know, with any disease, whether it's mental or something else, I believe we have the power to change that. You know, I realize that not everybody believes that, but, you know, that I'm just sharing what I do.
Okay, all right. But Thom, I want to ask you, what would you suggest to other people, other families who have been through such tragedy as yourself? How do you deal with such tragedy? What would you suggest?
You know, I've always been a big believer of life after death, so that certainly helps me a lot. It would, you know, if I didn't, I don't think I could have ever forgiven my brother.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I also know that what brings me joy and makes me so happy is me painting, is me indulging creatively, doing what feels good. And I think it's so important for everybody to deliberately spend time doing what feels good.
Okay.
You know, and that's whether you're frustrated or sick or anxious, anything.
Okay.
But there's no big secret there. There's no big answer.
Okay, it takes time.
So there, speaking about life after death, there's a point in the book where things sort of come together for me. And you mentioned earlier in the interview that you don't talk a lot about spirituality, but there are points where you mentioned it that were very, I say, heart-wrenching. From the time where I believe it was your friend says he called you talking about the spirit of your brother and your mother at odds, and then near the end of the book, I believe it was chapter 42, when you're with Troy and you guys finally get on the same wavelength, and that's when I know, it came to me that the name Forgiven Troy, it wasn't just about you, but you telling your brother that your mother forgave him too. I believe, I'll read it back for people who don't have the book. You said, you have to forgive yourself. Mom forgives you. If you make yourself a good life now, if you help people, you'll be happier. That part to me was like,
Kind of spiritual.
like, I don't even know how to describe it, but you know, you have the spiritual connection with your mom enough to know, and this is a genuine statement to your brother, that your mom forgives him. I guess I don't even know what to say about that, because that's more than just closure. That's like, you know, trying to put your brother on the right path. Can you talk about, you know, that feeling, or how you I don't know how you were able to muster that up to put your brother on the right path? It was genuine. I know it wasn't just something you were saying to coax him into being better.
Right. Well, I was really proud of Troy because they say that paranoid schizophrenics or boys who commit matricide, 70% of them never feel remorse. And he got there, and it was so cool to see that. And that's why I hold in my belief system that all the people that kill people could get there as well. There's a way to get there. There's a way to get to remorse. And so I was glad that he got there. What was interesting is, you know, Troy believes in the Bible, and yet one of the first things the Bible says is, "Thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt respect thy mother." And so it's interesting, you know, because in a way I want to say, "Oh, that Bible's just going to make you think you're going to hell," and then in a way he gets something out of it. So I kind of got to follow his lead to see what is making him feel better. But he, you know, he is seeing counselors in there, and they have him in the psychiatric unit. So they, you know, they do have people that medicate him and talk to him on occasion. He's doing really good.
Well, that's good. That's good. Wow.
Now, how has the personal trauma that you experienced in your life, the murder of your mother by your brother, the suicide of your other brother, affected your present beliefs? Like, how has it shaped your beliefs?
Well, I'm not sure that I don't suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome. I have a great deal of social anxiety, and I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm not sure where that's coming from, but hey, I've been a shy guy my whole life, you know. I guess, you know, besides that, I've just got a great deal of compassion, you know, for anybody. I've got compassion for people that are killed. I have compassion for people that kill. And I certainly understand people's frustration when somebody kills themselves, you know.
Wow.
So that's it. I just have more compassion, probably. But you ladies seem very compassionate.
Wow.
Now, did you get counseling behind all this? Did you get professional help to help you get through it? Because you're part of your book, one of the subtitles in the book is recovery. Was counseling part of the recovery process?
Not really. No. I thought that I was so adjusted because I was so fine with life after death. So I didn't really get a lot of therapy. Also, you know, my mother and father split when I was 12, and Mom didn't like that, and she didn't speak good about psychotherapists. So, you know, I didn't grow up with a real affinity towards that kind of work either. Now I respect it. But I've also been a very analytical person. So I pretty much analyze myself a lot.
So how is your belief of life after death? How did that help you to recover? Like, I know you didn't really want to go there with this whole spiritual
thing. That changes
thing,
everything. I mean, if you believe there's life after death, I can tell you my mom and brother are still around. If I believe that they're not, geez, I mean, that's going to be so much harder.
So it gives you hope that things will be different eventually in another life.
Yeah.
And that this is not the end. Okay.
Right. I've never believed it was the end.
Do you, in a way, feel as if writing this book, Forgiving Troy, was, in a way, a tribute to your mother?
Yeah, I tried to do so many things with that. The first drafts were certainly a tribute to her, and then then it changed. Yeah, I mean, it's about a lot, but I hope people people really love her. And one thing that, when somebody kills you, or if you're a mother and your son kills you, some people are going to think, oh, I bet she was a bitch, or I bet she was a bad mom. Some people are going to think that. So I didn't want anybody to think that.
Okay.
Because she wasn't.
Okay. Wow.
Well, Thom, on behalf of Let's Talk About Soaps, I just want to say thank you so much for being so open about this personal topic, and for giving us this interview, and for sharing with your soap fans what you went through and how you were able to overcome it and to deal with it. And maybe I should not say overcome, because as you said, that is something that you still somewhat struggle with, but that you were able to share this with us, all of your fans and the community, and let everyone know this is something that I went through, and this is something that I still deal with. I am human just like the rest of you, and here is my book, here is my story for all of you to read and for all of you to see. And thank you so much for that.
Yes, and to help others
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being so open as well. I enjoyed your questions, and it makes me feel good to just share everything. Because I remember when I was a kid being told the only thing you can give people is who you are, because they can get everything else anywhere else. So I like to be open, because that's all I can give you is my strangeness.
Yeah. Well, we thank you, and I'm quite sure people are going to get a lot of input, and you helping a lot of others through tragedies like yours. So we thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thom, we almost forgot this one thing. What outlets are there that your fans can be able to reach out and connect to you?
Yes.
Please friend request me at Thom Bierdz 2 Facebook. Thom Bierdz 2. I'm on Facebook constantly, and I'm on Twitter, but I don't interact on Twitter. But on Facebook, I interact constantly. So that's pretty much where I'm at all the time.
Oh, okay. So what is your next project? What are you doing now? What are you doing next?
What am I doing now?
Yeah.
I'm also president of the American Art Awards.
Okay.
And what I do is I bring 25 of the best galleries in America to judge all the online art submitted. So if people are interested in winning a prize and getting their artwork seen by 25 of the biggest galleries, they should go to AmericanArtAwards.com.
Okay.
And that's what's taking up a lot of my time right now.
Wow.
Plus I'm painting, and I've got 4 portraits going. It's great.
Wow.
I love being up here.
Wow.
I love painting.
Great.
And I hope that they use me more on Young and Restless. I hope
Yes.
Yes, we were waiting for you to come back from Australia.
Yes, we putting that out there. We put that out there. Writers, you hear that? Write him back into the script. We want him back on the Young and Restless.
There'll be great storylines.
Yes.
And fans also, if you do want to look up Thom on Facebook, because I, like you, have a very strange spelling of my name. It is Thom, Thom, Bierdz, Beards. Thom Bierdz.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's been
so
a
much.
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Thom.
All right.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Before we close, we want to let you soap fans know where you can find Thom Bierd's book.
You can find Thom's book either in any of your local bookstores, such as a Barnes & Noble, or you can get it online at Amazon.com, or if you'd like, you can get an autographed copy at Thom Bierd's personal website at www.thombierdz, that's THOMBIERDZ.com.
Now, Thom Bierdz played the soap opera star, and as you know, soap operas are very strange, but his book, a biography of his life, shows that life is truly stranger than fiction. So if you want a very good book to read that's telling of a tragic family story, check out Forgiving Troy by Thom Bierdz.
Last but not least, Y&R, please bring Thom Bierdz back from Australia. We need Philip Chancellor III back in our soaps. Thank you for joining us on this interview with Thom Bierdz. You can follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk About Soaps. And join us again on
Let's Talk About Soaps. Bye-bye.
Talk about